You allowed your Christian population to be murdered and massacred genocidally for more than 15 years, and you want somebody to come and praise you before giving you help? Are you kidding me? When he said that we were shithole, is there not everything about us is shithole? We call ourselves shithole. We know we are a disgraced nation, because any nation that is not disgraced will not allow its Christian population to go through what our population has gone through. More than 6 to 7 million are in IDP camps in their own home country, not in a foreign land.
The Beyond Africa podcast. Welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast, the only platform where experts share their views on African issues. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast again with me, your host, Ngalim Bernard. At the Beyond Africa podcast, we share African stories that change lives. Today, we're going to Nigeria, where we're going to discuss the most important issues of the time: security, foreign relations, and religion. When these three come together, emotions flare. Recently, President Trump's emerging policy direction towards Nigeria looks very closely at security developments, and he also designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. This declaration led him to say that Nigerian Christians are suffering a genocide. We're going to discuss how these developments are reshaping Nigeria's security landscape, the political and social consequences, and what this means for Nigeria's unity, stability, and engagement with the international community. This conversation has a wider impact because it touches on security across the continent. Our guest today is no other person but Joseph Okechukwu, who is a veteran Nigerian actor, filmmaker, documentary producer, and author. He's an advocate for the protection of Christians around the world with a focus on Nigeria and the continent of Africa. He shall share his ideas on the current state of US-Nigeria relations and what he thinks will be the ultimate solution for Nigeria, United States, and Africa, and how these can stabilize the continent. And all of you already know our guest of today. He is no stranger to any African because he's kept us alive, tied to our TV screens, and he's shared Nigeria and African culture to us through movies. You're welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast, Mr. Joseph Okechukwu.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be here with you.
Thank you so much. When you accepted the invite to come here, I quickly got a screenshot or images of you from Google and shared it with friends and said, "Do you know this guy?" They said, "Oh yeah, we know him. And do you want him on the Beyond Africa podcast? Come on, we need him here. Let him come and talk to us." So excited to have you on the Beyond Africa podcast. Are you that excited too?
I am beyond excited to be here with them. I'm very happy, to be honest.
Fantastic. So we're not talking filmmaking, we are talking geopolitics. But let's get in from a filmmaking perspective. What is happening between Nigeria and the United States today, or even focus only on Nigeria? If you were to do this as a plot in a movie, how will you narrate that?
Okay, so I would say it's a suspense-filled movie. Suspense-filled in the sense that during the first term of President Donald J. Trump in power, this thing that is making the news today, which is the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, had already taken place. And I happen to be one of the people at the center of that then. We were screaming at the top of our lungs at that time, saying, hey, the Nigerian government under President Muhammad Buhari, who is a very strong jihadist, was basically messing with Christians. He was allowing Christians to be murdered in record numbers, and he didn't even act as if it meant anything. And so we began to scream, and we're screaming until Washington heard our voice and then decided to invite the vice president. And then later on, the president himself went. And Donald Trump made it clear that he was never going to be alive and watch them kill Christians in Nigeria. And so despite all the posturing and all the propaganda they did at that time, at the end of the day, the United States of America still designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And then all of it, and the funny thing is that happened right at the time that Trump was leaving power for the first term. And those of us who are Trumpers, believed that President Trump was going to return because he had everything that it took for him to come back. Unfortunately, he didn't come back. So to all the people who supported the terrorism against Christians and the genocide and stuff like that, they were very happy because they knew that the incoming administration of Joe Biden, which is a Democrat-led administration, was going to lift that designation that President Trump put on Nigeria. So when Biden came to power, he took the oath of office, I think around January. By November of that same year, he took the oath of office. Biden had already removed the designation that was put on Nigeria. In other words, giving Nigeria a clean bill. Guess what? Everybody on the other side began to rejoice, hoping that, yeah, we've won now, so we're going to kill more Christians. Who cares? You see, that's why I called it a suspense-filled movie, because all of a sudden, just when they thought they had it all, President Trump rode back to the office again. And less than 1 year of taking office, we are here back to where we were before, and he's designating Nigeria again. So in a movie context, this is a very strong suspense-filled movie that would have a good, happy ending. That's the way I would put it.
Thank you so much for this introduction and for this setting in which you describe it as a suspense-filled movie. We note that during President Trump's first term, he also took some critical decisions regarding Cameroon. He suspended some military aid to Cameroon. At a time, that was mainly linked to the Amazonian southern Cameroon's crisis. But when he left office, everything went to a standstill, and the relations between between the United States and Cameroon became fruitful again. We even saw Biden invite Biya to Washington, D.C., and that raised alarm amongst Cameroonian human rights activists. But still, what you're saying goes towards that direction of President Trump taking firm decisions to enhance the protection of human rights and human dignity across the world. But you made a very strong claim that I want us to touch on. That is, Buhari is a jihadist. Do you really say that with all honesty? And if Buhari is a jihadist, do you mean that Buhari and his government members are jihadists also?
I don't know how to beat about the bush. And Buhari is not a matter of say it with all sense of sincerity or whatever. Buhari is a renowned jihadist.
How do you mean?
Dangerous one at that. You know, let me give you an example. Even if he was alive, I would still say the same thing. And I said it when he was alive multiple times. You can go check my record. I gave it to him hot. I'm one of the few people who would tell you the truth no matter whose ox is gored. Okay? Now, there is something that happens in Nigeria today that is an anomaly that I don't think has happened in any other country on earth with sane people living in it. And I'll describe it to you. So Buhari came to power, and this man had the audacity to create something they called Operation Safe Corridor. Operation Safe Corridor is an operation and an activity that enables Boko Haram, ISIS, and all kinds of terrorist members who have killed and maimed and decapitated, amputated, and disemboweled pregnant women, people who would see a pregnant woman cut her tummy open, pull out the baby in her womb and kill that same baby, rape all the women in front of their husbands, rape babies, young girls in front of their parents. These same people, this is basically all they do on daily basis. This Buhari came to power and created this so-called stupid Operation Safe Corridor that enables them to come out and claim that they are now repentant, that they are now repented. And so they take them to some VIP place where they give them what they call rehabilitation that is actually not rehabilitation. So just like the way the name implies, is a safe corridor. So they go through that corridor in a VIP way. They come out after 2-3 months and claim that we are now repented. And once they say these guys have now repented, you know what happens? They integrate them into the Nigerian society to become anything they want to be in life. No punishment for their crimes, no consequences for all their evils, nothing, zero. They can become civil servants,
They can go and become custom officers, policemen, military men. And according to one Nigerian military man who was addressing one of those passing ceremonies or whatever, Passover ceremony or whatever they call it, or graduation ceremonies, the guy said that you can even become a president in Nigeria. I'm talking Boko Haram, one of the most dreaded terrorist organizations in the world. And just recently, a governor in Borno State, the governor of Borno State, claimed openly, this is as a matter of public record, you can go check it out, claimed that about 300,000 of those same repentant Boko Haram members have been integrated into the Borno society. And here is where the kicker is. You know that almost 90% of these so-called Boko Haram fighters and ISWAP fighters are not from Nigeria. These are the same people who violate the sovereignty of Nigeria, violate the territorial integrity of Nigeria, and they fame and live stream their violation of the territorial integrity as they pour in from different countries of the world, enter into Nigeria to come and kill Nigerians, to come and dispossess indigenous Nigerians of their farmlands and homelands. And after doing that, they will then now take over those lands and rename them, give them Islamic names, turn the chiefdoms into caliphates. And then at the end of the day, you tell me that these people have repented. So when they repent, what happens then? They become a part of the same society they have sworn to destroy. Come on now. Buhari is a jihadist. And listen, before that happened, before he created that stupid Operation Safe Corridor, he actually went and collapsed the immigration laws that would stop these people from coming into Nigeria anyhow. So that means he has opened the door for everyone to come. President Trump used to say something very interesting and funny, okay, and which is also true. He said, if there were no boundaries in heaven, there wouldn't be anything called hell. That's why there has to be fence. That's why America has to have fence. How can you not be in a country where there's no fence?
Thank you. Let's break this down. I see you are so emotionally attached to this conversation. Anyway, you are emotionally attached to these issues from anyone who follows you on social media. But for those who were beneficiaries of the Operation Safe Corridor, they became repentant according to officials, and they have been rehabilitated into society and being rehabilitated into society. Since then, do these same rehabilitees commit the same crimes they committed when they were still wearing the Boko Haram and ISWAP uniforms?
You can dress a pig in a beautiful suit like the one you're wearing today, and the pig is never going to take the pig away from the pig. Okay? A pig can be made to look like a prince, but the pig is still going to be a pig. And if you want to try it, put him in a palace, and you see what he's going to turn the palace into.
Give me a few examples of how these people remained what they had always been.
The example is that we have several videos upon videos upon videos, and they are accessible on social media, of Nigerian soldiers coming out in the open, something that you don't see often, making videos and saying, listen, we are being paid to fight with Boko Haram members, and every time our brigade is attacked, it is these guys who are sending information to their commanders, whom they are still loyal to. I'm not saying, this is not my claim. This is Nigerian soldiers making videos, not one, not two, not three, not four, not even five.
Hold it. Are you saying that there are some members of Boko Haram who are now part of the Nigerian army?
Openly. The Nigerian army guys, soldiers themselves have admitted it. Even at the top rank of the Nigerian army, the videos are there. If you follow me on Jesse Okechukwu on X, go scroll through my timeline, you will see that. Nobody is making any claims. By they themselves saying it, that this is what we're dealing with. In fact, one soldier had to leave the military recently, a few weeks ago. He said he's tired of having to fight alongside the same people that he was told are the enemies of the nation that he's fighting against. And then all of a sudden, he's now seeing them coming to fight alongside him. Over what? What are they going to be fighting against? Because they say that these guys still have the same loyalty to their commanders that are in the bush. So why would Nigerian army men be sabotaged in the process of trying to fight terrorists?
So what do you think President Buhari should have done to resolve this crisis? He went through the rehabilitation path, and you think it is not appropriate because from what you say, they come back and they continue doing what they had been doing in the past. So what is supposed to have been the right path to resolve this problem?
It's a no-brainer, man. It's a no-brainer. If you see somebody who is a killer like Boko Haram, what do we do to them? What do you, I believe you live in America, right? I've lived in America for years. In the United States of America, there are laws. When you cross the line and the law catches up with you, you face the law. This is what happens. There are some instant justice cases, and there are some cases where you got to go to court. Boko Haram is killing our people, raping people, abducting children, abducting women up and down. Why do you have to go and take them through a safe corridor? What safe corridor? They need to pay the price for their crimes. You kill them on the field. That's why we have soldiers. Nigeria votes millions upon millions of dollars as security vote every year. What is that money going to? Is it not to buy weapons, ammunition to face the terrorists and kill the terrorists? Nobody goes to negotiate with terrorists, but that's what we see happening in Nigeria today. They are openly negotiating with these guys.
So who is funding the terrorists? Is it the Nigerians and the Nigerian politicians or someone else?
No, we don't know who is funding the terrorists, but there are allegations that the funders of the terrorists are embedded with some people with the Nigerian government under Buhari, and some people claim that some of them are even still around the corridors of power, even in this particular regime. So something happened a few years ago. UAE published names of sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria. And when they published that, I think it was even under Buhari, those names were published in black and white. Nobody took action. Nobody did anything about it. Today, we have people who we call terrorist sympathizers who are hobnobbing with the president and with the regime in power in Nigeria today. And so when this recent campaign began, what happened was that people now began to scream out loud to say, this guy is always very sympathetic to the cause of terrorists. We need to do something about it. That's why the USA got more involved, and a lot of those people are now being questioned. For instance, even the so-called Minister for Defense, Minister of State for Defense in Nigeria, Matawale, who was the former governor of Zamfara State. There was a lady who made a video and claimed that this guy was not qualified to do this, and that even when he was a governor, that they found that there were some terrorists that were harbored in his home. And when this thing went out there, the US now is reportedly demanding that that guy needs to step down if America is going to have any productive partnership with Nigeria in the war against terrorism. So these are information that are coming out today. And as this information come out, and people are not acting on it, and the reason they can act on it now is because the United States of America has stepped into the field, the battlefield. If America hadn't stepped in, all of these things will be swept under the carpet, and Nigeria will just go on as if nothing is happening, and people will continue to get killed, and the people who kill them will continue to get left off the hooks. They don't get any punishment for anything. It's been going on like this for more than 10 years, probably about 15 years or more.
So you're saying that the terrorists in Nigeria are sponsored by Nigerian politicians?
They are reportedly, allegedly sponsored by Nigerian politicians, and there are some foreigners also that have been reported to also help in funding what is happening in Nigeria. So, like I was saying to you, the one report we know that has been published that anybody can go look up on the internet was the one that UAE published. You can go look it up, publish sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria. Just Google it and you can see the name there. That is number one. And then there are some that are coming, and I believe that by before America is done with whatever God has assigned them to do in Nigeria to help Christians that are being persecuted, we will see more names that are going to come up. There's no way terrorism in Nigeria would have thrived all these years if the people who sponsor and support it are not within Nigeria. It is absolutely impossible. What are you talking about? Even what Buhari did alone is enough to say that Buhari is even a supporter, if not a sponsor of terrorism. Why would you create a corridor that allows terrorists to be integrated into the society, to go and join the force, and join military, and join police, and join civil service? People who should be facing firing squad to die. That is sponsorship, not just sympathetic.
That is sponsorship.
There are also claims online that in addition to Boko Haram, there are Fulani herdsmen who are also committing this kind of atrocities, making it very difficult to determine if all these atrocities are committed by Boko Haram, terrorism, or there is tribal conflict and farmer-herder conflicts also playing a critical role here. Why are you insisting on the fact that it must only be Boko Haram and ISIS?
No, it's not. It's not only Boko Haram. I'm not insisting on Boko Haram. Boko Haram is probably just the term that we use to qualify all of them. The Fulani herdsmen even kill 10 times more than Boko Haram kills on daily basis. They are the ones who are all over the place doing the killing. Boko Haram is mostly in the north. Fulani herdsmen kill beyond the north. They kill in the north. They kill in the middle belt. They are the ones. So when you hear that the terrorists are dispossessing people of their homelands and taking over the homelands that they have dispossessed Christians of, and then they are renaming them, and the same Christians they dispossessed of their farmlands and homelands have ended up in IDP camps numbering close to 6 to 7 million, if not more than that. These same people who do this are not Boko Haram. They are the Fulani herdsmen. They are the Fulani terrorists, the Fulani ethnic militia. These are the ones doing it. They are basically taking over land. And before you know it, in the nearest future, you see them change the history of that place. And they will claim that their forefathers owned that place, that this is their land. Because they are taking over the land and renaming the lands that belong to Christians. The people can't even go back to their homes again. They've ended up in IDP camps. This is what has been going on. Open Doors and all these big NGOs have been documenting this thing for the past how many years? More than 15 years now. This is what is going on. Fulani herdsmen are there. ISWAP is there. A new one just showed up in Kwara recently, connected to Al-Qaeda. They just showed up in Kwara with a major attack. And from the moment they announced their presence in Kwara, they've been attacking almost on daily basis in Kwara. This is how they spring up all over the place. But the guys who are going for the real land grab and taking over of the territory is the Fulani ethnic militia.
So I'm getting a lot of names there, and it's necessary to kind of break them down. Even though you say Boko Haram and terrorism is the umbrella name that you use to describe all these groups that are committing these atrocities. But where would you now put President Buhari of blessed memory? As a Fulani sympathizer, or as a Boko Haram sympathizer, Boko Haram, ISWAP, Al-Qaeda, or the herdsmen, or are the herdsmen working together with Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Al-Qaeda?
They're all the same. That's what I'm telling you, that this is like all the same. You have what we call...
The modus operandi,
yes,
it could be the same, but the ideologies could be different, because you said the herdsmen are out to get land.
You're getting it upside down. The ideology is the same. The modus operandi is different.
So
the ideology...
Fulani herdsmen have the same ideology as Al-Qaeda, the Al-Qaeda branch you just mentioned?
By both Fulani herdsmen, Al-Qaeda, ISWAP, all of them have the same ideology. Their aim is ideological conquest. They want you to convert to Islam by force or you die. The other ones say, we don't want any Western education. You have to only do Sharia. That's why Nigeria, which is supposed to be a secular state, now has about 12 northern states that are practicing Sharia law already. And this is why in the recent report you see coming out of the United States of America, one of the requirements that America is now imposing on Nigeria for cooperation is that you must end that Sharia thing, because that same Sharia is now being used to victimize Christians who don't subscribe to that Sharia law. This is what is going on in Nigeria. So when you talk about Buhari, Buhari is ethnically, he is a Fulani man. So he will have to make sure that he sides with his people. He believes that his people are supposed to take over. There's a man called Matthew Ashimolowo. He's a pastor. Okay, a lot of people know him from KICC London. Ashimolowo grew up a Muslim, right? And in one of his recent videos on this whole Christian genocide, he said that as they were growing up in, I think, Sokoto, that there was this thing that they used to play on radio. This song they played on radio to the Northerners then. They used to play this song that said that Nigeria is a land given to their forefather Usman Dan Fodio. Usman Dan Fodio, that every inch of the land of Nigeria belongs to him and must be returned to him. So these guys believe they are fighting a righteous war
to take over every part of the land of Nigeria to their ancestor Usman Dan Fodio. And by that, they mean that every single soul in Nigeria must become a Muslim. Eastern Nigeria, more than 70 million, is 99% Christian. Western Nigeria is about 60 to 70% Christian. How do you then get all these people to become Muslim if it is not by force? This is the ideological synchronicity that I'm talking about. They have this thing. There's a serious ideological compatibility, but then the modus operandi is in different forms. It's diverse. This one is doing here. This one is doing different this way. This one is going this way. But all of them have the same aim: to conquer ideologically every single soul that identifies as a Nigerian.
So are they trying to convert only Christians into Islam, or both Christians and Nigerian traditionalists into Islam?
No, traditionalists never show on the radar when we're talking about stuff, because they are very few in number. But the point is that most of the people they abduct are usually identified as Christians. And we have seen videos where they even make them deny their faith. Remember Leah Sharibu? Leah Sharibu was kept because she refused to deny her faith. This is what is good. They take 300, 400, 200 at once. You must deny your faith, especially when they have abducted them and kept them in captivity. Most of them, they have even converted forcefully, and they are now radicalizing those ones there, because most of the people they abducted have not been released till this day. And they radicalize them. So that's the whole idea. This is why we say that there are some moderate Muslims who get killed sometimes when they are doing their stuff as collateral damage. But the aim is that all these predominantly Christian regions, we are going to go over there and get everybody in that place to convert to Islam, or they die. This is jihad in plain sight.
Let us talk about the jihad and Christian genocide in a moment. Yesterday, you put this post on X. You said, have you noticed most core northern terrorist sympathizers and genocide deniers who defended and fought for President Tinubu a few weeks and months ago on this app are suddenly disappearing from the radar? I told you to watch out. As we commence our descent into the execution phases, they will all fizzle away, and from fizzling away, they'll turn against him so bad it will take the grace of God to control the fallout. It's a clearing. Save this post. Can you break this down for us?
So this is why I made that post. So, when we started the campaign, there were the X and social media was flooded with a lot of genocide deniers, a lot of terrorist sympathizers, and all of them were like, oh, let's rally around President President Tinubu. He is resisting America. Let's rally. So all these guys, core northerners, all those people who have this sympathetic attitude towards terrorism and the killing of Christians, who didn't care, who were acting like they were subhumans, they flooded the whole place. So those of us who were talking became like the enemy. Like you don't like Nigeria. You hate the country. You hate our president, just because the president was not saying anything. So they felt the president was. But now what is happening is that the same president that they said, this man is on our side and is resisting America, let's call America's bluff and go to China and all of that. That same president now has realized that there is nothing he can do about this. That if the United States of America says you have to stop the killing of Christians, you actually have to stop it. And that's why they sent a team that was led by the NSA, the Nigerian Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to the United States of America to go and meet with Pete Hegseth. And after the meeting, some agreements were reached. And part of the agreement reached was that you are going to do this, that, and that. And America is going to help in this way, or that way. And I can't tell you exactly everything I know about that. I can only tell you just the much you've heard, okay? But then the Tinubu administration knows that everything that was agreed in that meeting or in those meetings they had in America, that there's no way he's going to run away from any of them. Everything must be implemented. You saw what just happened. They took away the defense minister and brought in the Christian defense minister that was doing so well that Nigerians liked. He was actually killing the terrorists. And many people believe that the reason they took him out then was because he was actually giving his men order to kill terrorists. because these people don't like terrorists being killed. We have seen soldiers who made videos to say that every time they see the terrorists in sight and want to shoot at them, that they always get an order that they shouldn't kill them. So this is why this guy, everybody believed that they removed him because he was telling his men to kill terrorists. Now, as soon as that team came back from America, guess what? The same guy that was the chief of defense staff was now brought to come and be the new defense minister. So people are suddenly beginning to feel that it looks like Tinubu is indirectly kowtowing to America's demands, which means that he's now going to turn on them that support the jihadists, because now Tinubu is saying we have to have state police in Nigeria. State police means that every region will now have their own police that is indigenous to them, which will help to fight and ward off the terrorists. Every state will encourage vigilante, which will help to ward off the terrorists. And keep in mind that before this time, most of what people have been encountering in places like Benue and Plateau is that every time an attack is about to happen, they claim that some people from the military or police or something will come to their communities and disarm their vigilantes and other people. And at the moment that happens, in a day or a few hours later, an attack will happen. Now you have a Nigerian president saying that the vigilante guys now need to be empowered, that police should now be indigenous to the states that actually need to have the police. So we now have state police. So these things are to show that this man is like he's going away from all the things we agreed with him. So many of them are going silent, and from going silent, they're going to go into full-blown antagonism against him, because they now see he is no longer. And he's also made a statement that I want to put in here. He made a statement that I thought it was fake news until I now saw it with his own handle. He said that we need to now embrace ranching and stop all these Fulani herdsmen that carry cows all over the place, open grazing. These are signs that the North, the core North, is going to turn against Tinubu very soon.
Thank you for that development. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us now, you're watching the Beyond Africa podcast with me, Ngalim Bernard, your host, and my guest, Mr. Joseph Okechukwu, a Nigerian filmmaker, veteran actor, and advocate for a peaceful and Christian Nigeria. Are you an advocate for a Christian Nigeria or an advocate for the exercise of free religion in Nigeria?
So I'm not advocating for any Christian Nigeria. That would be lunacy, because Nigeria is not completely a Christian nation. Nigeria, there are more Christians in Nigeria, obviously 110% more Christian in Nigeria than Muslims, but we are supposed to be a secular. Secular is the middle ground, okay? And so I'm not saying we should be a Christian country. I'm saying that people should be allowed to worship whoever they want to worship. You can never, and you know, this is why my people went to war in Biafra. I don't know why people don't learn from history. I tell people who care to know, there is nothing you can do in this life. There's no man born of a woman that will turn Eastern Nigeria, Igbo nation, and turn them into Muslims. It is not possible. Take that, even if I don't live today, go and take it to the bank and cash it. Nobody can Islamize Eastern Nigeria. And is it not okay that you should, if you are already a Muslim and your region has accepted your religion, practice it within your region. Don't shove it down my throat. Don't try to impose it on me. It is not possible.
Let's talk
Anybody
about Biafra in a moment.
impose it on Igbo people, on Nigerians, on Easterners, mark my words, it will start a new war. There's no way our people will take it, because we have something that is indigenous to us. We have something that is peculiar to us, and we are so adamantly adhered to it. There's nothing that anybody can do to change it. And this is what these people are trying to do now. They're trying to...
Let's talk about Biafra and religion in a moment. But I wanted us to come back to what you said about the negotiations between Nigeria's National Security Advisor and the United States Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. You said there is, what do you know? You cannot say everything about it. But the viewers are definitely interested in having information about what can guarantee them that they are going to be safe in their communities right now, despite the changes that you have already mentioned. I say this because with the development of state police, for example, and vigilante groups, there is a risk of those states that feel that they now have their weapons to try to secede from Nigeria.
No.
So what guarantees should citizens have that the United States, in their negotiations with the government of Nigeria, consider that as a risk and are moving towards protecting that from happening?
No, there's nothing like those states trying to secede from Nigeria. The president didn't mention state military. He mentioned state police. The military is still federal. Okay, so how can you secede if you don't have full autonomy in the military unit? No, that's not possible. And again, to answer your question directly about the assurance is that anybody who has followed the news of what is going on will see that America is not playing. President Donald J. Trump is not here to play games with anybody. Remember, I am known as the guy who sold Donald Trump to Africans. Hands down. There's no argument about that. In 2016, when I started with this man, it was a spiritual experience I had that drew me to Trump, because I saw the future. I saw everything happening here today when God told me to go and fight for that guy, when it was a taboo to even mention Trump's name in the media, and I was fighting for him. I remember when the Nigeria was designated the first time, I was the one who detailed all the things that Trump did in Africa. Even how we saw the video in Cameroon where they went to, is it southern Cameroon or maybe Ambazonia area, and they shot a woman with her babies and all of that. The military shot and killed. That video was trending there. These were some of the videos we sent to the White House to say, Mr. President, this is what is going on in Cameroon. And there were so many people who were sending information. And Mr. President did that and said, look, I am not only going to designate Nigeria and then stop AIDS into Cameroon, we are going to create a task force that will enforce all these things. Do you know, many people are not aware that when Trump designated Nigeria the first time, that there was about 16 to 18 nation task force that was created. I'm talking about military force that was going to be on ground to enforce this peace that he wants, the religious liberty that he wants for Christians. So if Trump is now back again, and he started very early, not towards the end of his term, very early, before his term is even 1 year old, that tells you that before he is 1 year old in office, or even 2 years, a lot of things that he's saying today would have been implemented. And there is nobody that can do anything about it. President Tinubu of Nigeria knows that there is no way. Do you know how much aid America gives to Nigeria on yearly or every year? America, as of April, had signed about $46 million arms deal with Nigeria. And Nigeria literally depends on America for their arms. So America, beyond even the arms, gives a lot of aid to Nigeria. America has a lot of influence over Nigeria. So the president knows there's nothing he can do about it. So if America is saying to you, listen, you must do this and do that, there's no way, you have to do it. And that's why we are seeing some movement on the ground. So the state police and all this stopping of open grazing, which is what is causing all this problem and all kinds of stuff, is just the early stages of what is about to happen. That's why I'm telling you that as the implementation stage goes into the next phases, the upper phases, you're going to see some revolt from the other guys. They're going to get angry, like, okay, it looks like this is now being targeted at us. Because remember, when Jonathan was fighting Boko Haram those days, they tagged it that he was fighting against northern civilians because he is a Christian, that he was killing them. But it was clear to all that he was actually killing Boko Haram. And they said that Boko Haram were their brothers, that they were killing them. Do you know, a Nigerian soldier made a video and said that he wanted to, that they were, I don't know if I posted that video on my timeline or not. The guy said they were there. They saw Boko Haram members to fight. And they were, as a team of soldiers, planning, how do we go and attack these guys? Guess what happened? He said that some of the men, the northerners that were with them, were angry that they were plotting on how to go and shoot and kill the Boko Haram men. That they started feeling like these guys, these Christians, were about to go and kill their brothers. And these same brothers are Boko Haram terrorists. Can you imagine that? This is what has been going on. So there are people who look at the Boko Haram members and the terrorists as their brothers who are in the force.
So a lot of cleansing, a lot of cleanup has to be done. And these are the things America is demanding. The process has only just begun and the way ahead is quite far. But I can tell you beyond, with everything in me, that what has just started now is going to be consistent, is going to continue until all these bad elements have been rooted out. It is not a joke, it is real.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's talk Christian persecution now and Nigerian politics in relation with the United States' new direction. When President Trump said there is a genocide in Nigeria, the news and some international organizations said there is no genocide, but you have been very vehement that there is a genocide in Nigeria. Why are you so attached to the word genocide?
Well, I'm attached to the word genocide because we know what genocide means. Genocide has a lot to do with intent. It has a lot to do with motive. And we have seen the trajectory. We have seen the motive. How do you explain the killing of 200 people in one night, all of them Christians? How do you explain the burial of 500 plus Christians in one day in a mass grave, and all their names are written out above that gravesite for the whole world to see? How do you explain that about 18,000 churches have been burned since 2009? How do you explain about 125,000 Christians killed since 2009? The figures don't lie. You understand? The figures don't lie.
Do you mean no mosques have been burned and no Christians have been killed?
No, Muslims have been killed. When I made my post about this, when they start coming up with all this, the Muslims also get killed. We say, yes, we know Muslims get killed. And 25,000 Christians as against about 40 something or so Muslims killed, 1,000 Muslims killed within from 2009. And then how many mosques were burned? I'm not sure, up to even 50 or 70. But you have 18,000 churches destroyed completely, burned to the ground. You have these people go into a place where church service is going on and they kill the people and put on the choir robes and use it to mock their God. You saw the one that happened on the same day that Nicki Minaj was at the United Nations to go and campaign against Christian genocide in Nigeria. You saw what happened in Kwara State. A church service was going on and they were live streaming the church service, and all of a sudden gunshots rang out all over the place and the terrorists went in. And we saw the heartbreaking video of that old woman who couldn't even run. All of them were so traumatized. So we basically watched a terrorist attack on a church service live on a live stream. So this is a pattern. It's been going on. 99% of all the villages that have been taken over by Fulani ethnic militia in Benue State, 0.9% are all Christian locations. How do you explain that? It is with the intent. When you are killing a certain group of people based on their religion or their ethnicity or whatever, and you want to exterminate them, you are committing genocide. Why is it that people don't want to call it the name? That's why people like me exist on social media, so that when they want to paint this issue and tell the lies, we will put the truth and use it to counter the lies that they are telling. That's why today, by the grace of God, because we refuse to allow them to get away with the lies, the truth has prevailed today. And everybody is now speaking that truth by force. All the people who denied Al Jazeera was drumming Gaza genocide into our ears forever. And then when it came to the time of accepting the genocide in Nigeria, Al Jazeera claimed it was not genocide. The same Al Jazeera. The same thing happened with BBC. But today, BBC is now covering the genocide happening in real time. The same BBC that denied it. All of them, even AP now is covering it. So we have gotten all of them to begin to do journalism, because what they do is garbage, not journalism. They don't know how to do journalism. They do propagandism. That's what they do. So we've gotten them to do journalism now, because what has been happening in Nigeria is not hidden. We have international community that has been having their searchlight on Nigeria for more than a decade. These things are not hidden. We tell them,
If you think it's a lie, show up in Nigeria and you will see the people who are involved. We will show you the victims. We will show you the mass graves. We will show you the places that have been taken over by Fulani ethnic militia. We will show you the people that are inside the IDP camps who were once thriving farmers, who were doing so well as farmers. All of them are now languishing in IDP camps. These things are not, you cannot lie about these things because they are there in your face. Carry your camera, show up in Nigeria, and people will show you where they are. They don't want to do it. They are talking to Gumi, who is a terrorist sympathizer. They are talking to all kinds of people who are the mouthpieces of the government of the day. Why are you talking to people who are going to give you propaganda? That's why Piers Morgan got the so-called foreign minister of Nigeria on his show, and the guy was lying that only about 100 and something, 177 people since 2009 have been killed. My goodness, on Pierre's show, and Pierre disgraced the guy on his show. But you are saying this, meanwhile, about 100 and something have been killed already. Within the period he's saying this thing, about 300 and something were kidnapped. The other one was 25. And you are telling people that 177 have been kidnapped or killed since 2009.
We're talking about the media. I know the media has interviewed Al Jazeera, CNN, BBC, News of Canada. They have been interviewing Nigerians to talk about these issues. And most of those have seen those who say that there is no genocide and it's a security problem that can be easily resolved by the government of Nigeria. Has any of these media organs invited you or people of your own school of thought to share your views?
Why would they invite me? They invite me to be vibrating like this, the way I'm vibrating on your show. They know they won't do that because I give them hard facts. They will see hard facts. They don't even need to invite me. They should go and invite Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo. They should go and invite some of these people that have been helping, trying to support these persecuted Christians from the very hot spot where it's happening. They should go and talk to Issa Ebuba. There are so many people they can talk to. So many people, countless. They don't want to talk to them. We had to literally force the Nigerian media, which is also controlled by the regime, to begin to talk to Ezekiel Dachomo. It started with News Central, and then Arise TV now spoke with him. I think even Channels has also now spoken with him. They didn't want to talk to him before. They just parroted the propaganda of the regime, parroted the one-sided story of the other side. They didn't want anybody to hear from the victims. How do you have a balanced news?
But you know,
and you are just not talking to only one person, you don't want to talk to the other person.
But you know, those who are going to watch us now from the other side are also going to say, I have given you room to parrot your propaganda out here.
Well, no, how you know that something is a propaganda when the facts you're dishing out is a lie? So the only way they can say that is if they can put out figures, okay, that say that, look, this thing you said is a lie here. That's when you know that I'm doing propaganda. Propaganda has, you don't have the right to decide what a propaganda is, except if you have the facts on your side. I can call something a propaganda if I have the truth on my side. But if you don't have the truth, you can't call what I'm saying propaganda, because we have a standard that is universal. The universal standard is the truth. And once you're not speaking the truth, you're lying, or you are doing what? You are propagandizing. So if you follow me on X, right? But you know how many times I have posted on my X and said, please, people who say that Muslims also get killed the way Christians are killed, which we don't deny, but you say that they are killed almost at the same time, or that Muslims actually are being killed more. I am begging you, me, Joseph Okechukwu, I'm begging you, share your videos of all the attacks on Muslims. I want to propagate it. I want to use my social media handles to propagate. I haven't seen it. Share videos, share pictures. Where is the evidence? But when you talk to the other side, evidence is everywhere. That's how you know who is propagandizing and who is not propagandizing. And I don't care about what anybody thinks about what I say. I just speak the truth and stay with it.
What do you think is the objective of those who say that it's not as serious as you want it to be? Because they say there's a problem, but it's not. It doesn't amount to genocide.
Yeah, but
why do you think they're hanging on that?
No, but that's politics. That's toxic politics.
Why did it have to take Donald Trump to call it a genocide before the world starts paying attention to the problem in Nigeria?
Because it's an agenda. It's a conquest agenda. It's an ideological conquest agenda. Egypt was once a Christian nation. Turkey was once a Christian nation. And when these things happen, It happens under the cover. Everybody was handpicked to keep quiet about this, to stay silent about this. It started, first of all, the peak of it was Buhari started it, and then they wanted to get into the peak of it with a Muslim ticket in a nation that has more Christians than Muslims. We have what we call federal character in Nigeria, where you have to make sure that every side, based on their religious affiliation, is represented. So we always have had, even during military regimes, we've always had either a Muslim president and a Christian vice president, or a Muslim vice president and a Christian president. This time around, because they felt that Buhari has conquered everywhere for them, it's now time to go for the finishing thing, for the end game. They now decided to float Muslim ticket. Even when Nigerians
But President Tinubu is a Muslim, but he's not from the north.
It doesn't matter. If we're talking about religion, we're not talking about ethnicity. It is Muslim ticket is Muslim ticket, period.
Are you saying that President Tinubu himself has the ideological idea, the ideology to conquer Nigeria into an Islamic state?
No, nobody. No, that's not the conversation. You're going away from the conversation.
No, when we started the conversation, you said the leadership of Nigeria has an ideology, and that ideology is to conquer Nigeria and transform into a Muslim nation. And then you've said they have done everything to have a Muslim ticket so that a Muslim ticket can continue the conquest that Buhari had solidified. So now, talking about Tinubu, are you saying that Tinubu has that same ideology to spread Islam across Nigeria?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, first of all, follow my train of thought, yeah? The optics is the optics of you have failed, you are my slave, and you can't do anything about it. That's the optics, first of all. That optics is we now have a Muslim ticket for the first time in recent memory. Okay? Tinubu was brought into it. Does that make Tinubu one of the jihadists? Well, we can't tell, because at the end of the day, I told you something if you followed what I was telling you earlier. At the end of the day, Tinubu seems to be very open to everything America is saying to do to disband this whole extremism. If he was like Buhari, he wouldn't be open to all of this. He would probably resist it with everything in him. Instead, he would say, let America come and fight. But he seems to be, boom, boom, America says this, he's doing it, which is why I said that these guys are going to come after him very soon. Do you see what I'm talking about? But maybe God played a game with these guys. They thought they were wise, and God turned their wisdom into foolishness by saying, yeah, we have a very hardline Muslim guy in the south. Let's use him for this Muslim ticket and do it. And then God finally turned it against them, because the same guy they called a hardliner from the south, which is Tinubu, is now given to America's flexibility and watering down of that their extremism. You see, this is what is happening.
What would you say about Atiku Abubakar? Is he part of the ideology? Because he's also a Muslim and he has been there for a long time, and he was also a candidate in this election.
So basically, I don't want to talk about Atiku Abubakar with respect to all of this. Because I don't have any record of his involvement in anything. But what I know is that when Deborah was killed, Atiku Abubakar, it took a lot for us to get him to even speak and say something. I think his initial statement then was even almost in support of what happened. I think later on he now spoke against.
Who killed
I
his
don't
brother?
have a lot of record. Deborah was that Christian girl that was stoned to death and burned in the north by fellow students because she told them not to bring religious conversation into a school WhatsApp group. And that was it. They were talking about Allah and all of that. And she told them, no, this is not for this. And then that was it. They said it was blasphemy. And then they stoned her to death and killed her, because Sharia, of course, is in all those places, which is what we are talking about. So if you want me to talk about Atiku, I'll talk about Atiku based on his politics, but not based on all of this, because he's pretty much, Atiku for me is pretty much like an expired wine. He is supposed to be on his way out of the political sphere already.
This looks like a very critical political discussion in Nigeria at the moment. And even if Atiku is an expired bottle of wine, he is still very relevant in Nigerian political discourse, because he carries some significant weight of history, experience, and influence in Nigerian politics. So you cannot write him out.
In the context,
Yeah, but in the context of what is going on, how many times have you seen any post from Atiku on what is going on? What do you think from
Why is he silent?
Oh, so that's what I'm talking about. So have you seen any contest? How can I discuss somebody who doesn't play any role in the
Can his
context of what is happening?
silence be interpreted as sympathy for one of the sides, especially the
No. So
side that
the
is
idea
oppressing?
is a Fulani man is always going to be a Fulani man. Yeah. And Nigerians are very, very, very unsettled with the whole idea of even Atiku becoming president, because now they don't want anybody that's from the Fulani side to come again. They believe that there's no way you will stop being a Fulani man the moment you grab power. In fact, when you grab power, your Fulani-ness is even more exposed. Okay? Because we saw what Buhari did. Buhari literally was ready to take over the entire nation and hand it over to his people. And that was how those guys were killing with impunity. On Christmas Day, they will kill. New Year Day, they will kill every day. Like killings all over the place. He literally allowed these guys to pour into Nigeria today to do all the nonsense they are doing. So when you talk about Atiku Abubakar, I sincerely do not know from where to start addressing him. I address people that I believe have something they have contributed to the context of the conversation. Atiku has zero. I don't see any importance in this conversation with him. He's just quiet, silent. But the truth of the matter is that Atiku is a Fulani man. Period. And Nigerians are not ignorant of that.
All right. Thank you. Let's continue to talk about the Christian genocide. So in one of your recent outings, you asked, why is President Trump so determined to intervene in Nigeria? And you answered, first, this is who he is. He is a self-declared defender of religious liberty. In his first term, he looked Buhari in the eye and told him to stop the killing of Christians. He designated Nigeria for violating religious freedom and insisted even persecuted Shia Muslims must be allowed to worship in peace. His focus, however, has always been sharpest where Christians suffer most, and that is Nigeria. So with the Christians, now I'm seeing you separating Shia Muslims from the Shiite Muslims in Nigeria. Is one group of Muslims in Nigeria under attack from another one, or from those
they
who
have
are
been.
causing this?
Of course, as at the time this happened, when Nigeria was initially designated, Zakzaki, the leader of the Shia Muslims in Nigeria, was going through here because Buhari belongs to the other side of Islam. I think it's the Salafi Islam or something. I don't know how they do it, but Zakzaki was leading the Shia Muslims. Now, the Shia Muslims were being killed and persecuted. I think there was even a time when they wanted to protest, and about 200 of them were killed. The Minister for Defense, Buratai, ordered for them to be killed at that time, and it was just like nothing. So there was a lot of persecution they were going through in Nigeria. You can imagine that. So even when President Trump was now designating Nigeria and saying that he wants to promote religious liberty, he even mentioned them that even the Shia should be allowed to worship whoever they want to worship without facing persecution from the Buhari administration. So that's why I said that President Trump naturally is disposed to religious liberty, religious freedom. He just hates the idea that somebody can be killed or punished because of how they want to worship or who they choose to worship. He's always been like that. That's why when people started talking, I was like, you guys don't understand even a very recent history. This man, as recently as 2020, has done this thing that he's doing now. This is not the first time he's done this. This is who he is. He's not doing it for any political reason. He's not doing it because of your so-called mineral. America has more minerals than Nigeria here. So it's not about all this.
Let's talk about minerals in a moment. From what I hear, you are happy as a Christian, a Nigerian Christian, you're happy with the position that President Trump has taken. Let us watch this video. Then we'll come back to get your impressions about it.
With that. Great. And I think the Christians in Nigeria today are probably feeling pretty good about Donald Trump's position.
Thank you very much. Senator, you said the Christians in Nigeria today are probably feeling good about Donald Trump. So I'm a Christian from Nigeria.
You're an expert.
1 out of 100 million Christians, very small sample size. I do not feel good about Donald Trump. He called Nigeria a disgraced country. Frankly speaking, that's not so bad because he used to call us a shithole country. So it's a kind of improvement on disgraced countries is an improvement. Is there a better way, for instance, a decent way to offer help to someone? So if I looked at all the shoes on this panel, and you guys are wearing nice suits, everybody is wearing nice suits, but there's a differentiation of shoes. The senator's shoe is different. So if I was your friend, after this panel, I would buy you a gift, a nice shoe to match up with your suit. I wouldn't have to say anything about the state of your shoes that made me buy you those shoes. Is there a way that powerful countries can help less powerful countries, poor countries, without doing it in a way that leaves them worse off? For instance, America went to Libya. Libya has a causative effect on the terrorism challenges that Nigeria and the Sahel is facing. I don't want to talk about the other places America went to. Let's just stick it to Nigeria. Since Donald Trump said what he said for Nigerian Christians, Christians have been abducted in the church in the northwest of Nigeria.
Sure.
Muslim students have been abducted. I do not speak to the causation, but there's a correlation between Donald Trump, from the point Donald Trump spoke about Nigeria's challenges and the escalation of terrorism.
Okay, great. You said as a Nigerian Christian, what do I think? No, that guy is just. I responded to that video. I mean, so this is juvenile at best. Like, if it wasn't for your show and I just come across that, I would not even respond, because it's gonna be like a way of degrading myself, because that is so infantile and so childish that it doesn't even require someone like me responding to it. I mean, you are basically talking about the way he talked. How can you help without not making them look bad? We're not talking about looking bad here. We're dealing with a very sensitive situation, and you're making mention of Libya. I don't want to talk about. And this is a guy who is attached to the regime, known all over Nigeria as a propaganda mouthpiece of the regime. So when his thing came, I didn't even know who he was. So when I started writing, people were, I don't know if you can go on my timeline, you will see people say, boss, you don't know this guy. Oh, you should have known. Don't bother yourself. Don't waste your saliva. I didn't even know him. If I had known, maybe I wouldn't even have responded, because that's too infantile. Donald Trump has nothing to do with what happened in Libya. These people in Nigeria do not understand international politics, that politics is very fluid. American presidency under different regimes have different policies, but they always think it is one size fits all. That's not how it works. What Obama did, Trump will come in and oppose it. What this one did, this person can come in and oppose it. They were talking about US aid using money to go to terrorist organizations. But the same Trump you're now trying to align with, the same US aid, came to power. The first thing he did was he immediately he disbanded the US aid. He defunded it. And today, just about 2 days ago, they have now announced from the State Department that every aid America gives to any nation will no longer go through the NGO complex, industrial complex. They will now go straight to the nations that have it. So the boy was asking very stupid question. Why would you be saying, is there any way they can help nations without talking? If you want to call me a fool, but help me. What do you mean by what? Why should they give you respect? You are a disgraced nation. You allowed your Christian population to be murdered and massacred genocidally for more than 15 years, and you want somebody to come and praise you before giving you help? Are you kidding me? When he said that we were shithole, is there not everything about us is shithole? We call ourselves shithole. We know we are a disgraced nation, because any nation that is not disgraced will not allow its Christian population to go through what our population has gone through. More than 6 to 7 million are in IDP camps in their own home country, not in a foreign land. And you haven't done anything about it. And you're negotiating with terrorists that are killing them. And you are taking them through a process that makes them repentant and integrate them. And they are seeing it. And they've lost their homes forever. No plan to return them back to their homes. And you say you're not disgraced. What nonsense is that? So for the sake of your program, I just respond to that.
Thank you so much for honoring the Beyond Africa podcast and our viewers by responding to that. The message I hear you sending here is that the piper dictates the tune, and especially in a situation where we have made our own countries ungovernable, forcing others to come in and describe the situation as it is for us in order to help us. Giving the right diagnosis requires the right treatment. Is that what you're saying?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Because you don't come to, for instance, now, when Trump looked Buhari in the face and said, "Why are you killing Christians?" Buhari couldn't give him any answer. Buhari himself came to Nigeria and granted press an interview and told the newspapers that this is what Trump told him. He never told us what he told Trump, but because he didn't have any answer. The United States of America's president has better intelligence, more intelligence than any nation on earth. So when you're playing around and propagandizing, the man already has the information. It's almost like what we do in movies. We write scripts from beginning to the end. I know what the script is going to look. I know what the story is going to be like. I know how it's going to end. But then it hasn't been acted. So now we're going to start acting from scene one and start going on to the end. But you've already written it. You already know where it's ending. The viewer doesn't know, but you who wrote it know. President Trump has access to all manner of intelligence, and he knows what is happening on ground before he even made the statement he made. So there's nothing you're doing to convince him. There's nothing you're doing. He knows why he called the nation a disgraced, now disgraced nation. Because Nigerians themselves are calling Nigeria a disgrace more than even Trump. So if we are so proud of our own nation and we are calling it a blessed nation, beautiful nation, and Trump says that, everybody will go. They go and run a poll online and see how many people will come up with disgrace. They will put even disgrace plus, so it's nothing.
So in this situation, President Trump threatened military intervention in Nigeria. Is that something you can advocate for?
Well, why not? I would love for the U.S. Army to show up in Nigeria, but then show up in a way that it is a partnership between them and the Nigerian military, right? And which is why the NSA led the team from the government to go to DC to go and work with them. So the idea is that the Nigerian military will have the support of the US, okay, to be able to carry out the activities they need to carry out. And in places where America needs to lead the charge, the Nigerian military will say, okay, maybe here we're going to need you to lead the charge. So I want that partnership to be there. And I think from everything I'm looking at, from all indications, that partnership is almost in place, if not already in place right now. It's already happening. That partnership is there. Nigeria has what it takes to destroy these terrorists. It's just that the influencers, the people who support this terrorism, who feed off of it, who fund it, many of them were even, I will tell you, probably even more powerful than the president of Nigeria. And without the United States of America, the president of Nigeria would never have been able to do anything about this. Say that I told you so. He would never, without America's intervention now, President of Nigeria, President Tinubu, would never have been able to solve the terrorism problem in Nigeria because the guys behind it are way, way too powerful, more powerful than even he himself. So this America coming into the equation is what is now helping to bring this thing finally to a conclusive end that is going to be good for everybody.
Thank you. In the recent hearings before the Appropriations Committee, I think in the U.S. Congress, there were a series of recommendations, and you captured those recommendations on your timeline on X. And you say, conclusion, the Nigerian government under President Tinubu has been urged to take these steps immediately with considerable U.S. support, or who knows, America might just do it for them. Can't say more. 1, more security in the Middle Belt. You know what that means, right? 2, response to early warning mechanism put in place and an end to impunity by all means. 3, help the IDPs. This isn't just helping for food and stuff, but returning them to their abandoned homes. And 3, end blasphemy laws, declare Sharia unconstitutional, abolish it from all the states practicing it, and disband Hizbah. Nigeria is a democratic state, and if some states decide to elect their laws to be Sharia, why should those be stopped if it is within those states?
So you just said something. You said Nigeria is a democratic state, democratic and secular. If you have a democratic and secular state, Sharia, when it was mentioned in the Constitution of Nigeria, said that it can only apply to people who subscribe to it. Today, Sharia is being applied on Christians who don't subscribe to Sharia. So you see, it's the lie. It's the double standard that is causing all this problem.
Can you give me examples? Can you give me examples where Sharia is being applied to people who don't subscribe to it?
I don't need to give you examples where Sharia has been elected, every state that has adopted Sharia in the north is applying it to Christians. I don't need to give you examples.
When you say they are applying to Christians, what do you mean?
For instance, Christian bars where they sell beer and sell different. They have a restaurant, they are selling beer there. It's not a Muslim that owns it. So if you're a Sharia person, just don't go there to drink any beer. Allow the Christians who want to drink beer to drink beer. But they take all those restaurants and they destroy all of them, destroy the beer, pull everything down. This has happened.
In what part of
So
Nigeria?
many ways. There's recently the one that happened with, in fact, that one was even more brazen, which now made everybody to come to the point of, oh my goodness, so this is where we're headed. An Igbo man from eastern Nigeria, a Christian, and this is not in the state that has adopted Sharia, this is in Abuja, not a state that has adopted Sharia. So Abuja is the capital of the country, right? This man had a shop and he said that his landlord or whatever gave him a bill to pay. And he had paid, and I don't know how the story went, but at the end of the day, he said that the guy took him to the Sharia court. And he told them that he can't come to Sharia court because he is not a Christian. That if he wants to go to court, let him go to the main court that everybody can go to, both Christian and Muslim. And guess what? It was the Sharia court that gave judgment and came and sealed up his shop. And he's a Christian.
Are you saying that Sharia law has been adopted in Abuja?
Cover. So you see what I'm talking about. This was happening in Abuja and the news went everywhere. It was on Arise TV. It was on so many TV channels and everywhere. And Abuja has not even officially adopted Sharia. Abuja is the nation's capital. Sharia is in the far north. But now look what is happening. So the problem people have is you claim that Sharia can only happen to people who subscribe to it. But at the end of the day, you are applying Sharia on Christians who are in these enclaves that have adopted it.
Did this person sue the landlord in the ordinary court of law to get
No,
justice?
he just cried out. He just cried out, and Nigerians rose up. Everybody began to scream, and that was how that case was dropped. That thing was quashed, and he came out to thank everybody. If he didn't cry out, the Sharia would have, they sealed up his shop. He came, he couldn't have access to his shop because Sharia had done. They didn't go to the main court that every Nigerian can go to, that they said he didn't pay. I think something about that he didn't pay a bill, and the guy was saying that he had paid and paid excess. You know, all those things about renting a shop and, you know, paying or you didn't pay, that kind of stuff. I don't know exactly how that story went, but this was what happened, was that the guy went to a Sharia court and the Sharia court gave judgment, and judgment was applied to a Christian in Abuja, not in the far north.
Does that mean that in the far north, Sharia is okay by you?
No, Sharia is not okay by me, but if the people who are in that enclave, all of them there come together and say we want Sharia, who am I to say no? I'm in eastern Nigeria. Sharia would never happen in my place, not even in 1,000 lifetimes. So that's the problem. You understand? If they agree, but the point is that the people who live there say we don't want this Sharia. You are using Sharia as a weapon to oppress us Christians. Do you understand? If Sharia was applying only to Muslims, nobody, that's why the US now is saying, we demand that this thing now be disbanded because we have seen that it is a tool. It is that same Sharia, I believe, that gave them the effrontery to go and stone a girl that just said, look, you can't have this conversation that is religious in an academic forum. And they stoned her and killed her. That's what gives rise to blasphemy laws. Sharia is what gives rise to blasphemy laws. So when blasphemy happens, it's not only happening to Muslims, where they have to cut off your hand for doing this or cut off, they will do it to the same Christians too. This is the problem. If they kept it to Muslims alone, nobody will raise any eyebrow. But because they are applying it to Christians, and there are examples that are out there, people are now saying, no, this has to be disbanded because we have now seen it as a secret tool to oppress Christians further and persecute them even the more.
So by disbanding, should it be disbanded in the states where there are few Muslims or where it cannot actually be implemented, or should it be disbanded?
No. If it's going to be disbanded in this way, the way that they are advocating for it now is going to be a nationwide thing. That Nigeria is a secular state, except if Nigeria needs to split, okay? The other guys that are going to adopt Christian rules or secular rules will stay, and this one will say Islamic Republic. There's a difference between a secular state and an ideologically leaning state, right? If you are an Islamic Republic, You can have all these things applying to you. If you're in a secular state and you want to adopt Sharia, make it something that is applying to only the mosques and the people who go there, so that anything they do, Sharia can apply to them. Let it be just them, your religion. Like, for instance, paying tithe. Only Christians will go and pay tithe inside the church. It's only within you and your God. If you want to carry all your earnings in this life and give to your pastor or your whatever, that's up to you. That's the way Sharia is supposed to be, right? So when it is now outlawed, it doesn't mean that Muslims may not practice it. They may practice it still, but within that confine of the religion, it stays with them there. Nobody else is affected by it when it becomes a national disbanding. But if you don't do that and you say, let it stay within the states, they will still use it to apply to all the Christians in those states. And there is no state in the north that doesn't have Christian population in them.
So it makes it impossible to have Sharia implemented in a particular state only for Muslims. Is that
It
what you're
is
saying?
insensitivity.
So you are,
it's just like, give me 1 second. So it's just like, it's the double standard for me, right? It's just like when we were talking about the Muslim ticket, right? Somebody was talking about that on social media, and another Christian asked him, Chief, if we had a Christian ticket in Nigeria, what do you think will happen in northern Nigeria? Mark my words, the announcement of it alone is going to cause a lot of riots. And then by the time you say they have won election, nobody will sleep. From the day the election victory is announced, everywhere will go up in flames in Nigeria. You can't, it will never happen in Nigeria. But then you accept the Christians, you expect them to accept that a Muslim is okay, and they still accepted it, and now you still want to go push your luck a bit too far. No, the double standard is too much, and Nigerians are saying no. The Christians have been treated as if they are second-class citizens in the nation that belongs to them and their ancestors. That cannot happen. And that's why we are thanking God every day that we have a man like Donald Trump, not Biden, Senator Biden, who came to power and was kowtowing and pandering to all manner of extreme liberal ideologies, that enabled all these guys to do all the evil that they do. We thank God for the gift of Donald Trump, because imagine if this man was not in power today, what would have happened in Nigeria? We have a foreign minister who is a Muslim. We have a woman at the United Nations today who is second only to the UN Secretary General, who is a Muslim from Nigeria. Not one day has she opened her mouth to say anything about this whole thing. And look at our own foreign minister going to say that 177. So imagine they place key people in key roles where nobody will be able to know what is happening in Nigeria. Yet, on the ground, Christians have been massacred and wiped out. In Benue State, 27 local government, about 20 local government out of 28 were taken over within 1 month or so by these Fulani jihadists. And they took over and renamed it. These people are dying every day. Those ones who are not dead are ending up in IDP camps. And everything is kept quiet until Trump came now.
Like this?
Who now amplified it.
Yeah, is it framed like this in the news? Because when those events happen, people actually hear them. Does the news actually frame the taking over and the renaming of those entities as a takeover of non-Muslim communities?
What are you going to call it? The news doesn't even report it at all. You're talking about framing. If we were dealing with framing, it would have been a better thing. It would have been so much better. They don't report it. They put the whole news over. The news doesn't report. People reporting. Too many international organizations in Nigeria raising alarm. Look at Jeff Dodd or something. One guy like that has an NGO in Benue. The guy said that when that Yelawata massacre happened, when they killed 270 people in one night, that they told the Nigerian military, they even have a base close to where this happened. He said they gave them intelligence ahead of time. They now gave police. They said they told so many people, say, look, even when the guys were mobilizing to now go and start the attack, they even called them again and said, go to my account on X. You will see I pinned that video there. Okay, that's why I pinned it so that everybody can see it. The guy said they told them and nobody did anything. And the Fulani herdsmen came in there and massacred 270. There's a reverend father that spoke to Fox recently. He said, I have the names of all the victims that died in one night, all of them Christians. Are you telling me what? They are renaming the places. They are changing them.
So let's let's look at this. Let's look at this. Is it the Biafran, or you just mentioned that nobody in the southeast of Nigeria is ever going to accept that Sharia should be implemented within their territory as a law. So I know that Trump has been talking about Christian genocide. Is this advocacy of Christian genocide and Christian protection mixed together with the independence movements for Biafra?
No, it has nothing to do with Biafra. This has nothing to do with Biafra. Biafra is a totally different ball game altogether. Okay, if it has anything to do with Biafra, why hasn't anybody missed it in the eastern Nigeria? We've been dealing with middle belt of Nigeria. We've been dealing with Christianity. This is a religious liberty situation. It is not about self-determination. It is about religious liberty. And then if in the process of it leads to self-determination, well, so be it. But the most important thing is that everybody is looking for how do we safeguard, how do we protect Christians who are being eliminated, genocidally eliminated. And it's an intentional act. It is an intentional act. It's an agenda that is well-oiled, well-planned, well-funded, which is why they have their people in the places of power. So it's a totally different ball game altogether. But at the end of the day, it is for the benefit of the people who are occupying the place we call Biafra today, because they are 99% Christian and animists. So anything that happens to give religious liberty, we are going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of it, because we are traditionally Christians.
So what would you make of this if the other states in the north especially decide to say, okay, we are done, since those of you in the south do not want to accept us as we are thinking we are, and decide to secede from Nigeria? Would you accept that as a solution to this crisis?
Very gladly so. Wholeheartedly. Everybody is crying for that. In fact, Middle Belt is now saying that they don't even want to be identifying with the North again. The core North should stay on their own. Middle Belt, there's a map that somebody posted and shared with me, and I even shared it on my TL. Just divided into three. So you have the Middle Belt, and then you have the core North, and then you have the South. All right? And just recently,
more complicated than it looks.
Yeah, it is more complicated, but just recently, that south you see that was carved out in that map, all the governors that occupied the states in that south met in Lagos, in Ogun State, and decided and had a security meeting, emergency security meeting. And that meeting they are now implementing all the discussions at that meeting. And I'm pretty sure the people in the Middle Belt, if they can put themselves together, they can also have their own meeting. Before you know it, people will say, you know what, if the North is not going to be able to stop trying to impose their religion on anybody, maybe we should just let them stay on their own, and let these guys stay on their own, and let these other people stay on their own. That may be the best option, because if you continue to stay together, everybody is going to continue to deal with this situation even 10 years, 20 years, 100 years down the line. Biafrans have always wanted to be on their own. We've always wanted to leave. The reason they refuse to let us go is what I don't know, but we've always wanted to leave. You understand? So, but that's not what we are fighting for right now. What we are fighting for now is religious liberty, the right to even worship our God in peace and not get killed or hounded because of it.
So this question revolves around terrorism, and Nnamdi Kanu was recently sentenced to life imprisonment, and one of the charges was terrorism. Have any of those from the north whom you say are propagating this terrorism also been sent to prison, especially for life?
So there's an ISWAP leader who was charged, and coincidentally, as if that was just a coincidence, he was charged, I think, a few weeks before Nnamdi Kanu. And this is a guy who has killed Nigerian soldiers in their numbers, who has killed countless civilians, Christians. And guess how many years they gave him? They gave him 20 years imprisonment. An ISWAP leader, a terrorist leader, 20 years, who is known to have killed so many. And that's the only one we can remember that they have actually really charged. But Nnamdi Kanu, who has never held a gun, who had his microphone, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Yeah, and many, as they charged Nnamdi Kanu 1 week or 2 weeks after, 300 repentant Boko Haram members passed out from their so-called rehabilitation. just about a week or two after charging Nnamdi Kanu. Repentant Boko Haram. So Nnamdi Kanu doesn't deserve to be repentant and come. But we have Boko Haram who are killing. 300 just passed out. I think it was in Gombe. They came out. It was in the news. So that's the situation we found ourselves in Nigeria. So you are saying it's not entirely a self-determination thing, but a religious freedom thing. So you just said it's a religious thing and not a self-determination thing. Yes. Recently, you posted this on your tweet. For denying Christian genocide in Nigeria, it will be difficult for me to step into or recognize any church that has anything to do with this compromised Christian Association of Nigeria. They need to be disbanded ASAP. Yes. Why do you want everybody to have the same interpretation of things like you? No, I don't want everybody to have interpretation of things like me. I want everybody to speak the truth that everyone can see. And I'm going to give you a proof. I'll give you an evidence. You see, you read something that I posted, and when I posted it, I'm pretty sure there are some people who may have said the same thing that you said. This guy just wants everybody to believe like he does. He wants everybody to agree the way he just wants everybody to see things like him. But guess what? That same Christian Association of Nigeria has now finally come out to say that there is a genocide in Nigeria. Just imagine that. 1 month after. What stopped them from saying it earlier? The same thing happened with Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. They also denied. And then later, after I lambasted and some other people joined, they still came out also and said that there is also a Christian genocide in Nigeria. So you see, for me, I don't want people to think the way I think or believe the way I believe or agree with me on anything. But when I see the truth that is so barefaced, so naked, that everyone can see it, and someone is saying it is not true, it drives me nuts. And I'm going to keep drumming it until your brain will just suddenly recalibrate and wake up to that fact. That's what happened when I was campaigning for Donald Trump. I said it to those who care to know. I received death threats for campaigning for Trump. I did on YouTube. People threatened me. They said I was a betrayer. That how can I be campaigning for a racist who doesn't like Africans? This, that. So when I began to dish out all the things that Trump had done for Africa, all of they were dumb. They couldn't talk. They said, but we didn't know all this. I said, but the media will never tell you because CNN is an enemy of the people. CNN was set up by colonials to make sure that they propagandize and brainwash Africans and keep them in the plantation forever. That's why they will never tell you the truth. And so God brought people like us to tell our people the truth. That's what I did. And I didn't care. I didn't care about what people said. I spoke the truth. I stood by the truth. And today, the same Donald Trump began to stand with the Christians even before the Christian Association of Nigeria and Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria began to even stand with the Christians. Trump already started saying, you must stop killing before. It took them even weeks after Trump spoke. Okay, so this is it. Your papas and mamas you pay tithe to. None of them were able to stand by you. But the man you call racist is the one now standing and saying you must stop killing Christians. Just imagine if he was not in power right now. But look at all the insult I took for just supporting him because God had already shown me what the future will look like. That's why we shouldn't be listening to people when God calls us to do stuff. Thank you so much for bringing that clarification. And I just want to note that I would like to host any person who has any views on this Nigerian issue on this platform, so you can share your views and let viewers across the continent understand what is happening. And we put together a lot of information when we host this to cross-reference all the conversations and all the facts and declarations that are made during the conversation. And would also share that information as we go ahead, just to enhance credibility. Because as you say, the media does not give their platform to everybody. So that is the simple reason for which independent media and podcasting has exploded, because we want to give a voice to everybody. I assume that if you take this knowledge you have shared with me onto another platform, their viewers are definitely going to have another view of issues, but you have not been given that opportunity, as you told me a few minutes ago. So that is the reason for which we have the Beyond Africa podcast, to give the floor to everyone to come and share their views and let everyone know what is happening so people can make informed decisions. What we need across Africa is making informed decisions, so we know where the continent is going to and how to take the continent there. Do you disagree? No, I agree with you. It's no brainer. No
Do you want
problem.
to carry that message forward on behalf of Beyond Africa?
I mean, the message for me is people should just leave sentimentalism and emotionalism behind and embrace reality. I'm not, and I'm happy that you give this opportunity because I'm not a religious bigot. If I was a religious bigot, I would not fight for Traore. A lot of people who have followed me more than a few years know how hard I fought for Traore. They know how hard I fought for the Niger Republic junta, Abdurrahman Chani. I fought so hard because I wanted Africa. These are Muslims, but I was fighting for them because they're my brothers. I don't care about your religion. Okay, my own concern is the truth. If we embrace the truth, regardless of whose ox is gored, regardless of who is affected, you will find out that we are going to have a better continent. We are seeing something going on in our country, in our place that we call country Nigeria. It is in front of everybody. You see it with your eyes, you witness it, you taste it, you feel it, and yet you want to deny it because you feel like you have a certain religious affiliation. So based on that, I'm going to deny this. No, before you became a Muslim or a Christian, you were first Africans. Okay, we are Africans before we are Christians or before we are Muslims. So we must pay that respect to our continent, to our mother continent, and say, Mama, for your sake, I'm going to speak the truth, not because of this or that, but because of who we are in Africa. That's why I say I am a Pan-Africanist. I am a strong Pan-Africanist, okay? There's no way you can change that. So my message to people, please, whoever you are, whatever, even if you are a Muslim, if you see something that is wrong, say that it is wrong. If you see what is right, say it is right. If it is white, call it white. If it is black, call it black. That way, we can save our continent and make it a better place for everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Before you go, there is one question I thought I was going to raise it, but I did not. That was a question of resources. Once ever the United States says that they want to do something across Africa, the first cry is always they're coming for our resources. You have made an argument that the United States is richer than most African countries when it comes to natural resources.
Yes.
Do you really believe that?
I do. So mineral resources, America has a lot more. Like anybody who doubts can just go on Google right now and Google. I made a post one time where I gave the number of mineral resources Nigeria has. When I tried to check that of America, in fact, Google told me that they are too numerous to name, that they can't list it because there are too many of them. Okay, that's what America has. And my argument with that does not mean, it's not that America cannot come to Nigeria and then want to come and take mineral resources or anything. But my argument with this is that what Trump is trying to do is not bothered on mineral resources because he has done it before, and because they have more mineral resources than yourself, and also because the so-called mineral resources you have has not benefited anyone in Nigeria. We have oil coming out of Nigeria. It goes into the national purse. Everybody uses it. But the gold and all the other mineral resources, it is these same terrorists who are the ones controlling the trade of the minerals. Almost every single terrorist base in Nigeria today is situated around where the minerals are. So if terrorists have been stealing your minerals and giving it to whoever their sponsors are, what are you gaining from it? Why will you then have a problem with America coming to take it if America is even going to give you protection? I would rather that America even takes that mineral and gives us the protection. You understand? If the mineral was already doing well for you and you're using the money to better the lot of your people or to develop your country, and then we'll go like, oh, America cannot come to do this. But at the end of the day, America is coming to give you protection, but terrorists are the ones taking your minerals. I have fought against the United States of America when it came to Niger. I have fought against America when it came to Burkina Faso. I am on the American side today because America is speaking the truth. So why would the same person now turn around? My own is wherever the truth is, I want to stand there. Wherever the truth is, I want to always be on the right side. And a lot of people are not going to like you for that, but that's what decision I have made for my life. So America is not coming for any mineral resource. How much of our minerals will America take? Minerals are not even the major thing that gives us money. It is the oil. America has had two major oil companies that have operated in Nigeria for so many years, longer than so many of these people talking have been alive. Chevron has been in Nigeria longer than so many people have been alive. Mobil has been in Nigeria for as long as I can remember. And these people have a lot of power. They have a lot of leverage. They have influence over government. Why would America also go and sign a $346 or $76 million arms deal with Nigeria if they want to come and do this with Nigeria? They would have said, no, we're not doing it. Give us your mineral or we will not sign an arms deal. But they went ahead and signed the arms deal. Until when this cries now grew louder, boom, America now said, we're going to intervene. So it wasn't that, it was the same propaganda they created so that they can make it look like it is the same thing that happened in Libya, the same thing that happened in Burkina Faso and all of that. So they don't know that they can never succeed with that, because if you have someone like me still alive and I was a part of all those other campaigns, you are never going to sell that lie or that dot to my people. I will make sure we frustrate it, and we did. And today, look at how the truth is triumphing against the lies.
Thank you. So what message do you have for Nigerians in this material and critical moment where security is a big issue in Nigeria and the United States, through Donald Trump, wants to help? For the common Nigerian citizen, what message do you have for them?
One liner: help is on the way.
And what should they do since help is on the way?
Be optimistic, be hopeful. They are already seeing it. Do you know how many people have sent me a message to say, Brother Joe, I didn't agree with you when when you were saying all these things. I thought you were just being too optimistic, but now I think I'm seeing that there are some signs. There are some signs. They're now seeing that the same army, all of a sudden is now killing terrorists, and it's not fake, real. There's somebody who sent a message that said, oh, there's a place in Taraba that for the first time in so many years, they saw that the terrorists were running away and disappearing. Something is going on. That's why I said I can't tell you so many things on this platform right now. There is so much going on. This is why I can confidently tell everybody in Nigeria that is a Christian to be hopeful, because help is not only on the way, help is already on ground. That's the best way I can say it, and I can't do more than that.
Thank you. You have also made allusion in your post to the fact that this is an African-wide problem.
Yes.
So what message do you have for Africans in other countries? Because I know that Boko Haram has inroads in Chad, in Cameroon, in Niger, Mali, and some other countries.
So most Africans already know that this battle is an Africa-wide battle. And I've seen someone else say the same thing now from the US. Now, the thing they need to do, they have done already, which is to help to put the pressure. You may not have heard their names, but there are some Africans from different African countries who have also contributed in putting pressure, all right? So that this action by the US will be a success. And it is happening. It's not only Nigerians who have put this pressure on President Trump. There are some African countries who are worried that if these guys will take over Nigeria and gain access to the oil wealth of Nigeria, extending and expanding their ideological extremism and madness to their other African countries would happen at lightning speed. So they know that the best place is to nip it in the bud here in Nigeria. Once they finish it in Nigeria, that's the end of it. All the other people are going to be safe. Look at, for instance, Ghana. There's this report about a drone that left Ghana, an American drone that went to do reconnaissance and all of that in a bush. So Ghana is doing what they can do. So many other people are doing what they have to do. A lot of countries are playing the role they have to play. They are already doing it, and they need to continue to do that, because this is not against any individual. It's against an ideology, against a mindset that is anti-African. Africa is all about accommodation. It's all about hospitality. Africa is not all about extremism. We are not this way. This is alien to who we are as Africans. And that's why we want to combat it. We want to destroy it and get rid of it, so that the future generation that's coming after us will not have to deal with this madness.
Thank you so much for overcoming your sickness and showing up to the Beyond Africa podcast to give our guests the information that they really needed at this material moment, because across Africa, we need to have these conversations to advance the continent by understanding ourselves, understanding what we are doing and the risks that we face. The truth is very important for us.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By way of conclusion, can you give one last word to the viewers of the Beyond Africa podcast?
Oh, yeah, guys. It's been an honor. It's my first time, and I think I'm not usually given to a lot of strange interviews, but I think you are going to make a very good journalist. Yeah, because you know how to ask the right questions and you interrogate very well. And I think that your viewers are very lucky to have you. So if you continue on this trajectory, I think you're going to go places. So my love to all your viewers, and I pray that they continue to get greater insight into the issues that you bring to them all the time. Blessings to you guys, man.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, you're receiving your blessings and your appreciation from one of Africa's best and well-known actors. He's always there, and he cares about the continent. And thank you so much for the good words towards my humble self, and also to the team that does the background research before I come showing my face out here. It's a lot of work, and you see there's a lot of paperwork here, and me taking notes all the time as we're talking, because the team is actually doing a great work behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And we hope that you're going to be one of the ambassadors of the Beyond Africa podcast, because this podcast aims to fill the vacuum that the traditional media has created across the continent. So we need to carry this forward and give the room for everybody to come share their views, because we have to. Africans don't need to make decisions based on half information, but on the whole package, the full information, because without that, we cannot develop and we cannot prosper. Once again, thank you for coming to the Beyond Africa podcast.
God bless you, man.
Dear viewers, thank you so much for watching this very interesting and insightful episode of the Beyond Africa podcast. It has been insightful from the very beginning to the end. You've learned a lot. I believe you've gotten enough information to forming balanced opinions about what is happening in Nigeria and why President Trump decided to intervene in Nigeria. We are also open to anyone, because sharing views brings more information to the viewers. And we remain here, your humble servants at the Beyond Africa podcast. I have been your host, Ngalim Bernard. Kindly like, subscribe, and keep the comments. The comments keep us going, because they challenge us and make us to think wide and think hard. Thank you so much.